Mr Acting Speaker, I'll start my contribution to the appropriations bill by taking a look at the portfolios that I hold as the opposition spokesperson. Firstly, commencing with child safety and in particular residential care. We saw in the past 12 months a review into residential care, and the reason for the review, we need to remind Queenslanders, Mr Acting Speaker, was that there were an increasing number of children in residential care. In fact, 80% growth over the last 5 years that no other jurisdiction in the nation was experiencing. Almost 1 in 3 children in residential care in Queensland today are under the age of 12. There was community concerns about the links to youth justice issues and increasing incidences within the residential care system. There were complaints arising, Mr Deputy Speaker, about the sexual exploitation of young people in residential care, and there were complaints about the quality of care, in particular around unregulated providers and unlicensed providers operating. So we saw this government embark upon a review into itself, Mr Deputy Speaker, that was meant to address the increasing number of young people in care. The recommendations that were outlined in the residential care review, in fact, don't fully address at all the increased number in children under the age of 12 in residential care. And the QFCC modelling for residential care, Mr Deputy Speaker, where we currently see 1,829 young people in residential care, 308 are under the age of 10. The modelling in the forwards to 2028 will see an increase to nearly 2,000 young people, Mr Deputy Speaker. What we've seen by this Labor government is a complete and utter failure. Mr Deputy Speaker, I'll correct the record. The QFCC modelling for residential care sees an increase of 2,766 places by 2028. This is an extraordinary number of young people in residential care. This is babies, Mr Deputy Speaker, waking up, being cared for by different individuals throughout the night. This Labor government should be ashamed of how it's treated and how it's allowed a system to be created for its most vulnerable in this state. Mr Deputy Speaker, the government has failed to take responsibility of what has occurred over their watch. Residential care workers have been assaulted, young residents have been assaulted. The government is not even tracking data to consider the real impact of young people. The residential care roadmap doesn't deal with one of the fundamental issues of residential care, which is why is there a growing number of children being placed in residential care? Mr Deputy Speaker, the child safety system is at crisis. We see a workforce with record vacancy rates under enormous pressures. In my own community of the Mackay and Whitsunday, child safety officers are dealing with caseloads in excess of 40 caseloads, Mr Deputy Speaker. It's disgraceful, and we are just waiting for the time bomb of which a child will fall through the gaps and we'll see another preventable death under the watch of this state government. Mr Deputy Speaker, I also cover off on domestic and family violence prevention. After meeting with DV Connect recently, I was distressed to hear in the last quarter alone 7,000 calls to that service have gone unanswered under the watch of this state government. The 20% uplift that is being proposed by the government, while welcomed by the sector, will not even deal with the demand that they are facing now without the impact of coercive control legislation being introduced. Every time a phone is unanswered, a woman's life is put at risk. And Mr Deputy Speaker, the referral waitlist for the men's line is sitting at 3,000. How does the cycle of violence stop and change when this state Labor government can't even fund the frontline services that are there to be able to work with our perpetrators? I was in Cairns last week, Mr Deputy Speaker, and the services up there are reporting to me waitlists for perpetrator program are in excess of 100, and yet we see no action by this Labor government. We've seen slow rollout on the recommendations of Hear Her Voice, as well as the continued advocacy by the sector, who I thank and recognise for their service, that they need more in relation to resourcing. Mr Deputy Speaker, I will now turn to my electorate, and what a fantastic announcement by the Leader of the Opposition today to secure our housing foundations, and I know it will be very much welcomed by my community of Mackay and the Whitsundays, in particular the growth areas of the Northern Beaches, of Cannon Vale and of Proserpine, where young people, young individuals and young families will be able to purchase their first home if it's a new build under an LNP government, if we are so elected in October, Mr Deputy Speaker, where we will abolish stamp duty, Mr Deputy Speaker. This is an incredible incentive that is going to address supply and market conditions, as well as ensuring that young people and young families can actually face and realise what is the great Australian dream. I certainly know, and particularly from my background in local government, and I've already been in contact with both mayors, Mayor Roy Collins of the Whitsunday Regional Council and Mayor Greg Williamson of Mackay Regional Council. They very much welcome the LNP's policy commitment of $2 billion over 4 years to fund infrastructure that will bring forward housing development. I know they have projects ready to go, and we look forward, if elected in October, to be able to work with local government proactively, collaboratively, and to deliver greater housing supply on the ground, because they have been screaming out for a state government that supports the development of their community, Mr Deputy Speaker. When I look at some of the announcements in the budget that impact my community, Mr Deputy Speaker, I've been calling for the upgrades to the Hamilton Plains connection between Cannon Vale and Airlie Beach through to Proserpine, which is our only road connection to our hospital. It is the only road connection to our state high school, where we see children travel every day on that road, and within hours it has become a flood crisis, particularly in the increase in wet weather that we've seen on the last season. We've seen an announcement by this government that has highlighted the project will proceed, however, with a caveat that it is post-business case stage with cost and timing subject to confirmation following market engagement and consideration. So I have zero confidence, Mr Deputy Speaker, that the fine print that's outlined in almost every project in my region in Q-Trip will actually deliver for people of the Whitsundays. But they will have a clear choice, Mr Deputy Speaker, come October. Will they support an LNP government where we will get on and we will deliver those road projects? And I look forward to welcoming the Shadow Transport Minister as he drives from Cairns down to South East Queensland. He'll be visiting those many road project sites in my community, including Hamilton Plains, including the Shute Harbour Road, Paluma Road to Valley Drive upgrade, and also the Valley Drive to Tropic Road upgrade, where we will see potentially, if to proceed, a duplication of the lanes there into Airlie Beach, a much-needed project to meet our growing demand. Mr Deputy Speaker, it was disappointing but not surprising that $0 have been allocated to the Mackay-Bakasia Road upgrade. No funding for the most congested, busiest road in the Mackay local government area, where we see population growth exploding, and where we see community residents in my community, where we sit in traffic for 45 minutes to travel 5 or 6 kilometres to be able to access school, to be able to get to work, and to be able to access our industrial sites on the other side of town, Mr Deputy Speaker. I do welcome the $1 million that's been allocated for safety upgrades at the Glendara Road Bruce Highway intersection that I fought so strongly for, along with many residents who contacted my office, and where we saw the tragic loss of a life and a fatality last year, Mr Deputy Speaker, at that intersection. I also welcome and recognise the Naro Trail that will continue to receive funding as part of ecotourism in the Whitsundays, which is an iconic trail in our region and, in fact, in the state. But what's disappointing, Mr Deputy Speaker, is actually the Whitsunday Skyway project that, under multiple tourism ministers, has failed to be supported by this state government, that continues to be held up by the Department of Environment, where we see proponents spend hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars preparing, ticking all the boxes, doing all of the studies, and yet no support by the government, who in fact asked my local proponent to undertake this incredible signature project. I certainly will continue to support that project. I see incredible merit in tourism infrastructure in this state in the lead up to the Commonwealth Games, and that is part of the legacy that an LNP government hopes to support and to deliver as we move towards the Olympics. Mr Deputy Speaker, on the Leader's announcement today and confirmation that an LNP government will not proceed with the Pioneer Burdekin pumped hydro, I say to Mandy Tennant and to Save Youngler, keep going, because a vote for the Labor Party or a vote for the member of Mackay risks our iconic rainforest, the Yungana National Park. It risks this government proceeding with their hydro hoax project, Mr Deputy Speaker, a project that Glenn Kelly, our LNP candidate for Morani, has been advocating for on behalf of the community. And Mr Deputy Speaker, a project that was announced with no business case, no funding attached, a fly-in, fly-out visit by the previous Premier on National Police Remembrance Day. It was the most disgraceful act. She turned up late to the service and then took off to announce the pumped hydro project that Premier Miles is so proud now to lead, a project that does not have support of the Yui people, the traditional owners of the land there, that does not have support by Mackay Regional Council, that the businesses of Paget and the industrial states of Mackay and the Chamber of Commerce know and knew from day one that this was nothing but a hoax to win votes in South East Queensland, a fake renewable project that is going to exceed billions and billions of dollars than what it was initially estimated. Mr Deputy Speaker, I certainly look forward to working with our Mackay candidate, Nigel Dalton, Citizen of the Year in 2023, a decorated police officer, a man of integrity, a gentleman who is well regarded and respected by all people across our local Mackay community, a police officer who's worked in crime prevention, that has spent the last 10 years in every primary school, in every high school, and I must say, Mr Deputy Speaker, those young people that know Nigel cannot wait to vote for him in October, Mr Deputy Speaker. The programs he ran in partnership with CQ University, Safety Circus, Choices, attending Schoolies Week up in Airlie Beach. Nigel's part of the Sinkers Master Swimmers, the Shed Happens men's program. He does an enormous amount of work promoting and supporting men with mental health and also crime prevention. He was also recognised, Mr Deputy Speaker, in 2023 by the Australasian Neighbourhood Watch, receiving the Police Commissioner's Award for service. And Mr Deputy Speaker, the response that we've had since announcing Nigel's nomination and the advocacy that I know that he will undertake for the Mackay region, where we've seen a cut of funding in Mackay and no further investment when it comes to funding for disability advocacy support. They have reached out to me for the Community Legal Service. They have reached out to me for years, the Youth Service. They have reached out to me, and also to Relationships Australia, who work in harm minimisation from gambling harm, Mr Deputy Speaker. All of that funding has not increased, and in fact has been cut under the watch of the member for Mackay in her period as the local member. Mr Deputy Speaker, I look forward to supporting and ensuring that the people of Mackay, come October, have a clear choice. And that is an LNP government that has the right priorities for Queensland. That is an LNP government that will stand up for the women of Mackay who have seriously, Mr Deputy Speaker, are still traumatised by their incidents that they endured at Mackay Base Hospital, by the lack of representation that they had by their local member, Mr Deputy Speaker. And to hear the Health Minister announce funding for mental health support for women who are going through postnatal depression, and to leave out Mackay after what this state government put women in Mackay through, to hear from women who will travel to Brisbane now to have their babies because they have zero confidence in the health system in Mackay because of the failings of this current Labor government. I look forward to standing up with our candidate in Mackay so that people have a clear choice, because our region, Mackay and the Whitsunday, matters. They deserve better, and we look forward to showing Labor the door in 2024.